All right, everyone, let's go ahead and get started. Thank you for being here for Introduction to Market Research. Please use the chat feature to ask questions during this class. My colleague Sharon Tina is available to answer questions, and I'm going to pause throughout the presentation and take questions at the end of each section. So welcome to Introduction to Market Research. My name is Jillian Robbins. Today's session will introduce you to market research using free library resources, and you'll learn how to begin researching your industry to better understand the state of your product or service. Over the next hour or so, we are going to discuss the importance of researching your industry classification codes, how to gain a better understanding of the market by using demographic data, and how to examine the market share by researching the competition. I encourage you to explore our website and resources after class and email bric@freelibrary.org with your additional questions. Sharon Tina shared links to the resource guide for today's class and to BRIC's business website in the chat box. We'll also share contact information, a recording of this session, the slides, and all of the links with you via email after today's program. And again, I'll be taking questions throughout. Again, my name is Jillian Robbins. I'm the Business Services Supervisor here in the BRIC. Previously, I was a business librarian and then program coordinator for job seeking services also in the BRIC. And I've worked for the Free Library Philadelphia for just over 6 years. I'm also excited to have Sharon Tina here again to help me with the moderation and answering some questions. She's been our business librarian since February, and she actually has a background in business, which is really exciting for us. I encourage you to definitely ask her some questions. She has great answers. So long before COVID-19 was on our minds, the BRIC moved into a new state-of-the-art space on the ground floor of Parkway Central Library just over a year ago in April 2019, different world. Our new space offers a collaborative work environment with comfortable furniture, free Wi-Fi, and we also have meeting rooms that can be reserved for free. We look forward to welcoming you back into the BRIC when it's safe to return. But until then, we're happy to have you here virtually. In the BRIC, we break business research into 3 major topics, including market research, why we're all here today, demographic research, and competitive analysis. These are the 3 core research topics that librarians can provide guidance on. Each of these topics is also its own class. Today, we're going to explore market research. And before we jump in, I want to define market research and hear about your experiences with it. So what is market research? Market research is the process of gathering, analyzing, and interpreting information about a market, about a product or service to be offered for sale in the market, and about the past, present, and potential customers for the product or service. Research into the characteristics, spending habits, location, and needs of your business's target market, the industry as a whole, and the particular competitors you face. Quite the definition. So I'm going to go ahead and launch a poll here so that we can talk a little bit about what your level of experience with market research is and where you typically go to find that market research. Okay, so here's our first poll. Take a couple seconds here and add in your answer. Is this your first experience ever with market research? Have you kind of dabbled with it, used it to make some informed decisions but want to learn more? Maybe you've used the databases but you're not totally sure what that means. Or are you a master and why are you even in this class? So about half of you have voted. I'll give it a couple more seconds here. Okay, looks like most of you have given your answer. I'm going to end the poll. And we'll see the results on the screen here. So for over 50% of you, this is your first experience with market research. And a couple of other, 3 of you have dabbled in market research. That's great. This is exactly the class for you. This is a great way for you to dip your toe in and learn a little more about what market research means and what the free library can do to assist you with your market research. Awesome. So our next poll, let's see here. Oops, wrong poll. Sorry, that one second. Let me add our other poll. Question 2. Okay. So, where do you typically go to find market research, if anywhere? Do you go right to Google, an encyclopedia, either print or online? You've never conducted market research, totally fine. Databases. Do you ask your customers, you know, what do you guys want? What do you guys see? Or maybe you talk to other business owners that you know and see what they've experienced. I'll give it a couple of seconds here. We have about half of you who have given your answers. Oh, right now we're in a dead tie. That's exciting. All right, give it a couple more seconds. A couple of people still haven't voted. Okay, let's see what our responses are. So it looks like half of you go to Google, 50%. A couple of people have gone to their customers, to the databases, and the second largest amount of people have never conducted market research. That's great. I expected it to be Google. That's the first place that most people go. And that's really good for me to know. Thank you for participating. This really helps me to frame the class and feel connected to you, even though we're not physically together. Okay. Sorry, my slides don't want to advance. Here we go. So part 1. Now that we've broadly defined market research, let's talk a little bit about why it's important and why we should do it. So here's our definition again. Remember that market research is information about your industry for the purposes of analyzing and interpreting that information, which is about a product or service to be offered for sale within your market. Let's break that down a little bit more into 3 main categories. Your market research includes analysis and information about your specific industry or industries. Your product or service may cross industries, so you might have to do this part more than once. For example, consultants often have to conduct a market analysis for consulting itself, as well as for the industry that they are consulting to, such as restaurants or the fitness and wellness industry. Here you will include information about what activities, products, and services are included within your industry. It's essentially a definition of your industry's activities. You will also analyze the competition. This will include local information as well as national trends. We teach a whole additional class on creating a competitive analysis. For the purposes of market research, you can keep the competition section pretty broad. You should know how many competitors you have and how or why your product or service will be competitive within that market. You'll also need to have an idea of who your customers are, where you can find them, and why you need your product or service. We also teach a class on demographics and finding your target audience. But like competitors, for the purposes of market research, you should have a broad idea of who your customers are. There are 2 kinds of market research, primary and secondary. Primary research is the data that comes directly from your customers. This includes people you would like to have as customers if you're starting a new business, expanding, or adding a new product or service. An example of primary research includes conducting traffic counts, walkability scores, creating focus groups and surveys, and what we like to call in the BRIC, ethically stalking your new and existing customers. Secondary research is what you will primarily gather from the free library's market research tools. This includes information from sources such as trade publications, newsletters and magazines, chambers of commerce, the census, and business research databases. Thorough market research always includes both primary and secondary data. And as the entrepreneur, your own data and knowledge will make your business plan stronger. So why should you take the time to even conduct market research? Well, it's a major component of your business plan. Any funder and/or lender will want to see your plan, including a market research plan. It will help you to test new products and services to make sure they're worth the investment before you spend your valuable time and money. It allows you to monitor and stay ahead of trends, as well as ahead of your competitors. Finally, good and thorough market research allows you to create targeted marketing campaigns because you know your customers' needs and location. So now I want to learn a little bit more about how we all understand market research. I want to hear what it means to you. Sharontina has added instructions using this Slido to create a word cloud within the chat. Go to slido.com and enter 46102 on the screen. You'll see that website, and Sharontina also entered that into the chat. Type in a word or phrase that best defines market research to you. Your words and phrases will show on the slide as it goes. And I'll give you a minute or two to enter that information in. Are you guys all having luck getting in? Sharontina, how are we doing?
Good, I shared it in the chat.
Great, thank you. Please message Sharontina if you're not able to get in. Oh, good, we're having answers come in. This is the first time I've used this. I'm really excited. Looking good. We got some words popping up here. And if you agree with anyone, you can enter that same word or phrase in, and it will just show up a little bit bigger, which would be kind of cool. Gonna give you guys a couple minutes to think about it. Oh, you can see data showing up nice and big. Yep, that's a great word. Definitely data involved. Knowing your clients. Yep, definitely. Cold calling for sure. That is, it was and maybe used to be a big part, still is a big part for some industries. Emailing as well. Knowing your industry. Absolutely. Industry knowledge. That is a huge part of market research, knowing your industry inside and out. Gathering information, yep. Market research is always one of my favorites because it can be as broad or as specific as you want it to be. It's kind of the only section that's your section for interpretation. Gathering information, data, nice and big, that's what I like to see. We love library data. Librarians, big nerds. Just gonna give you guys one more minute. Planning, oh yeah, lots of planning. If entrepreneurship were quick, I think everyone would do it. Forecasting, yeah, that's a great one. Really good answer there. We're gonna talk a little bit about industry forecasting in a couple of minutes. All right, let's do 10 more seconds. Get your final thoughts there. Forecasting, nice and big, awesome. All right, this was really fun. This was my first time using Slido, so that was fun for me too. Thanks for participating. So next I'm going to take some questions before we move on to the beginning to conduct secondary market research. So we're going to talk a little bit about the databases and those trade journals in the next section, but I want to make sure that there's no questions before we start. Remember to use the chat so Sharontina can see them, and let me know if there's any questions.
No questions so far.
Great, thanks Sharontina. We're going to move on. So part 2, before we can dive into the databases, we do need to discuss industry classification codes. This is a big part of your market research section. Industry classification codes, brought to you by the U.S. Census Bureau, are the government's way of classifying every industry for research and statistical reasons. It is in essence a research tool. These codes define businesses based on the activities in which they are primarily engaged. You can find your code in a couple of different ways. Here we have them listed. You can find it in a big, thick directory that has Bible-thin pages, thousands of them. Not my favorite route, personally. You can use census.gov/NAICS to browse and search by keyword. Sharontina has shared that link in the chat. You can also use one of the free library's databases, Reference USA, to search competitors and similar businesses to replicate their codes. That's really great if you're particularly lost or you're not sure what your industry is. And we're going to talk about Reference USA in a bit. Finally, you can always use good old Google to search, but do make sure that you check the results against census.gov/NAICS, because sometimes it's an outdated number and sometimes it's just plain wrong. I know about half of you generally go to Google to find your market research. That can be okay, but just make sure that Google doesn't know everything and we have to check it against some additional resources. Now, there are two different types of industry classification codes. SIC, which is the Standard Industrial Classification, and NAICS, or NAICS, the North American Industry Classification System. NAICS is the current classification system used by the federal government for classifying businesses. It groups establishments into industries based on the similarity of their products, services, and production. The NAICS was updated in 2017, and we can expect another update in 2022, updated every 5 years. And NAICS can be frustrating because it can be quite broad, especially depending on your industry. SIC, on the other hand, is the older classification system. Stopped being updated in 1997. It's not that much different really from NAICS, but it was more specific. NAICS replaced SIC in 1997 when many industries were new, and it just became too much to classify many of the newer tech and .com related industries. Several data sets are still available with that SIC-based data, but nearly all market research on industries is only searchable by NAICS code. Remember, the major difference between SIC and NAICS classification is that NAICS tends to be broader, where SIC tends to be more specific, especially when it comes to new and emerging industries. Sharontina shared links to the SIC and NAICS structures for some light reading, but really do not get too bogged down in SIC or NAICS. We'll talk about a little bit how to search, but don't get too bogged down on it. It is just a tool for research. Here's an example of what a restaurant's industry classification code might look like. So Blackbird Pizzeria is a full-service restaurant located in Northern Liberties. Its NAICS code is 722511, which is a full-service restaurant. Its SIC codes are 581208, which is restaurants, and as well as 581222, pizza. So the NAICS code here is quite broad, which is full service restaurant, whereas one of those NAICS codes, that pizza NAICS code, is a little more specific. The good news is that you can search for competitors in Reference USA by using that more specific SIC code. But your industry information, the information about your industry, is going to be tied to your NAICS code, the broader code. And it's okay if it's not a totally perfect match. That's why conducting primary research is so important for your market research. Do we have any general questions about industry classification codes? Give you a couple seconds to think about that.
No questions so far.
Okay, I'll give it another second, make sure nothing comes up. Guys, we're flying right along here. Okay, any questions?
Nope.
Okay, we're gonna move on.
Right.
Part 3, industry research. Now we're gonna cover your classic market research aspects, your industry research and analysis. This section includes information about your specific industry or industries using your NAICS code or codes. Those of you who chose forecasting as what you think of as market research will enjoy this section. When researching your industry, it's important to keep in mind that we are referring to major industries. For example, if you're opening a restaurant, think in terms of full service, limited service, or mobile restaurant, not in terms of sushi, pizza, or Mexican restaurant. Remember, your product or service might cross industries, so you might have to do this part more than once using different codes. This is the only section you would have to do that. Generally, for your competitive and demographics, you will have just one set of those. It's also okay if your code is not one size fits all. Your research might not be as straightforward because you have to pull from multiple industries. Someone who's in advertising or marketing might feel a pull towards multiple industries, for example, or if you're a restaurant/bar, you might find that you will be looking at the industry of drinking places as well as full service restaurants. Industry research also includes the description of your industry, including its examples, activities, and services. So for example, a full service restaurant defined by the census is, quote, establishments primarily engaged in providing food services to patrons who order and are served while seated, i.e. waiter and waitress service, and pay after eating. These establishments may provide this type of food service to patrons in combination with selling alcoholic beverages, providing carryout services, or presenting live, non-theatrical entertainment, end quote. That's quite a mouthful, but that is your industry definition for full-service restaurants at 722-511. Industry knowledge also includes the current size and growth potential, also known as your industry forecast, as well as trends, opportunities, and challenges that are facing your industry. Conducting industry research proves that you know your field inside and out. If that sounds like a tall order, don't worry. The BRIC provides access to 3 major market research databases that really just provides all this information when you enter in your industry classification code. Here's an example of a typical research query from a hypothetical business. John, a baker in South Philly, has been in business for over 20 years. Sales have been stagnant, and he's looking for trends and opportunities for growth. So thinking about those bolded words here, we have a baker or a restaurant, and he wants to find new and exciting opportunities for his business. It's very similar to starting a business for the first time. So we're going to look at Mergent Intellect First Research, Business Insights Global, and OneSource D&B Business Browser Pro to find information about trends and opportunities by industry. And I'm going to talk about each database. We're going to go through each of these 3 databases, and then I'm going to do a short demo for each one. The first database is Mergent Intellect First Research. Mergent Intellect is actually a collection of databases, and First Research is the market research database. First Research is my favorite market research database because it generally just makes life easy. It's very searchable and looks a lot like you wish a Google search of your industry looked like. It includes information on over 1,000 industries, and here you can find information on forecasting, trends, opportunities, issues, and challenges facing in your industry. It links directly to related industries, so you can quickly sign up for daily emails about top tweets and popular online articles for as many industries as you'd like. It also has a section called Call Prep Questions that offers sample questions and answers to topics that are unique to each industry, in topics including operations and products, facilities, customers, marketing, pricing, competition, finance, and technology. And this information is updated quarterly and provided by Dun & Bradstreet as well as Hoover's. Next, we're going to do Business Insights Global. And Business Insights Global offers an encyclopedic information on industries with more traditional reference style articles that are pulled from ebooks like encyclopedias and directories, as well as scholarly and trade publications. You can also find information on large and publicly traded companies, such as SWOT reports, market rankings, investment reports, and general news. And you can find industry studies and business news by industry. This data is all aggregated by Gale, which is a top library information provider and reference book publisher, but it comes from lots of different sources. And the last general market research database is OneSource D&B Business Browser Pro. This is probably the most advanced market research tool that's provided by the free library. Like Merge and Intellect, First Research, and Business Insights Global, it also provides general market research information, such as company information, news, and industry information and details. OneSource includes information on international companies and data as well. This is the only international database for market research that we subscribe to. And you can also find detailed market research for broad industries, for example, restaurants and bars. You can download PDFs of market line industry profiles, Fredonia focus reports, RMA industry norms, and Euromonitor industry reports. You can sort market research by country, something like the United States, the UK, Europe, and this information is provided by Dun & Bradstreet. This database, like I said, is the only international database. It's most important for international research, but it can be really useful if you are entering a very broad industry. One thing I don't like about OneSource is the fact that if you have a less kind of popular industry, something a little newer or just not something that a lot of people are opening, you're not going to find as much information. So let's go ahead and pop out of our presentation here, and I'm going to do a demo of some of these databases. So follow along here with me. We're going to go to freelibrary.org/business. When you type that into your browser, you'll arrive at our business homepage. And if you scroll down past our events and our documents, we will arrive at our databases and digital resources. Sharentine, I just want to make sure you can see my screen, right?
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Clearly, we're very new at this virtual world. So once you arrive at databases and digital resources, you can go ahead and click on that red link that says Premier Business Databases. When you open that, it will take us to all 13 of our databases specifically for businesses and entrepreneurs. You also have the option, if you want to see other databases or other topics, you can click on subject and you can filter, but we're going to stick with business and entrepreneurs today. And then in alphabetical order, it will take us to our databases. So we're going to start with Merge and Intellect, First Research. Merge and Intellect, not to be confused with Merge and Online. Merge and Online is more about corporate histories and other financial information for publicly traded businesses. We're going to stick with Merge and Intellect. So once you click on the database, it will ask you for your library card number and PIN. Have your library card available from home. It will ask you to use that. I logged in before class started just to make it a little easier, but you will enter in your library card number and the PIN that you chose. And I do just want to let you know, if you don't have a library card, on the upper right-hand side of every freelibrary.org webpage, you have the option to log in or get a library card. But I hope you all have library cards. So okay, once we're in Merge and Intellect, you'll see it's a collection of databases, but we're going to look specifically at First Research, our industry report information. When you enter the database, it will ask you for an email address. They do not email you unless you ask them to email you. They were getting robo logins themselves, actually. So once you enter in that email address, I don't think it has to even be a real email address. You are now actually in the database. So here, you will notice it says search by keyword or industry code. I do recommend searching by your NAICS code. You also have the option to browse industry profiles if you're not sure yet what your NAICS code is. And you can expand all of these different items here, and they're all cross-referenced. So for example, if you're not sure if you're a service or retail or technology, you might find that it's listed in both places because it's fully cross-referenced. Anything you see a globe next to means it has some global information in there. Really not much. It's mostly about the US, a little bit about Canada. So you'll see they're pretty broad, but they have some different things listed that aren't necessarily NAICS codes. They try to make it a little more usable than NAICS. But you also have that option of typing in your industry code. I'm going to stick with full service restaurants here, the 722511. And once you enter your code and press search, it will give you your results by code. So here we have casual restaurants, we have coffee shops, all kinds of different items. Restaurants is the most general. I usually recommend starting there, starting big and going from there, honing in a little bit. So if you are a coffee shop or you want to open a coffee shop, go ahead and start with restaurants. It's going to have more robust information, and then you can look at coffee shops after. So let's go ahead and take a look at our restaurants here. Sometimes it takes a second. We're all on our home Wi-Fi right now. Okay, so once you enter in that NAICS code, this is what every page is going to essentially look like. You'll get a nice little introduction to these different topics. You can expand each section by clicking View All. You'll get a nice little industry growth rating and a little couple of reasons why. Top tweets, which only load kind of if you have the fastest internet ever. You have to click on it to get that information often. And here you'll notice on the left-hand side here, this nice toolbar where you can scroll through and get everything, or you can go specifically to something based on this toolbar. And above that, the little secondary toolbar, this is how you can download PDF versions or a copy-paste version. You'll notice that this database is it's updated quarterly. It's really rare for a market research database to be updated that often. Generally, they're updated every year, but this one is on a 3-month or 4-month basis. So this one was updated in December. I think we're a little bit behind due to all the chaos with COVID, but check back, set a reminder for yourself every quarter to check in, see what's going on. Below our toolbar, you'll notice archived profiles. You can essentially time travel and see when the updates have regularly come. So we were supposed to get one in March. I guess that due to the pandemic, they didn't do any updates. We might get one in June. But you can essentially time travel back to the beginning of when this industry went online. We are using restaurants because it is a robust industry. So they have information from 2003. You can time travel and see this same page for all those different years. And below that, like I mentioned, you can see some related industries. I love this because if you are something, say you want to open a restaurant, but you also want to have beer and wine, you can quickly toggle and click the link and be able to access that same information about this other related industry. Let's see if it loads for us. Yep, so here we have our beer, wine, and distilled spirits, same information, just a different industry. So let's go back to restaurants. Here on the toolbar, I want to just mention you can click on each thing by subject. There's our forecasting information. You can also click, I really like the issues, challenges, trends, and opportunities. They make this database very unique and they lay it out in very plain language, which I love. So here we have our issues, 2 issues. You get between 2 and 6 of these issues, and you'll get a little description and maybe some quick stats about why that is in fact an issue. Let's look at opportunities here. Here we have a lot more opportunities. That's a good sign. And we have, again, the item, what's an industry operation. So if I were talking to my baker, John, in South Philly, I might say, try adding some organic menu options. And here's why. That's another opportunity within the market. And the last section I want to show you specifically in this database is the call prep questions, like I mentioned. I think this is a truly stupid name for a really useful tool, but you can get a nice feel for some of these different questions as well as some sample answers. This is a great way to frame your mind around market research even. Think about if you know the answer to some of these questions yourself. These are questions that funders might be asking you. And questions that you may not have even thought to ask yourself yet. And you can also ask your competitors these questions, especially if you're a restaurant or a daycare. No one says you can't call or visit and pretend to be a patron or a parent and see how they do things, what you can borrow or steal or improve on. So a really cool, fun tool. Any questions about Mergent Intellect?
Well, we have a question about NAICS codes.
Okay, cool.
So I was kind of in the middle of answering it, but
Okay.
I'll just let you know what it is. It says, I have a tough time with our NAICS code. It doesn't really describe what we do. We're a safety consulting firm. Our NAICS code has to do with engineering, which we don't do. Is there a way to look up a competitor that does something similar to us and see what they use for their NAICS code?
Oh, absolutely, yes. We're going to get to competitive research in the next few, after the next couple of databases. So stay tuned. We'll be using Reference USA for that.
Yep.
Thanks, Sharon-Tina.
No
Sharon-Tina knows what's up. She'll answer. Any other questions on Mergent Intellect?
No other questions.
Cool. Okay. So we're going to leave Mergent Intellect behind. Goodbye, Mergent. And next, we are going to take a look at Business Insights Global. So Business Insights Global, again, is going to ask you for your library card number and PIN. Sometimes it also asks you on the actual database to enter in your library card number again. Just do it, and once you do it, it'll pop you into the database there. So Business Insights Global is really searchable as well. Here on this top toolbar, you can enter in a publicly traded company or stock symbol, and you can also change that to search by your industry or by keyword. Again, searchable by NAICS code and major industry, but you can try your luck with that keyword. Say you are a yoga studio. Unfortunately, your NAICS code is going to be fitness and recreation. Not totally descriptive. You could keyword search yoga to see what kind of results you get, but I do recommend at least starting with that major industry. And this is a smart database. When you start typing in your code, it will give you those that are related. So anything that starts with 722, which is generally food and accommodation services. We're going to stick with that 722-511 full service restaurant. And when you click search, it's going to pop up your results, all hyperlinked here for you. So here we'll still get some results. Our first one is for full service restaurants. That's what we asked for. And then it'll give you other somewhat related results. So here, if we click on our full service restaurants, you're going to get some information about top performing kind of publicly traded companies and revenues. And then you will also get information on your industry. So here's a nice industry overview from the Global Collection from 2019. We also have the Encyclopedia of American Industries from 2020. Let's click on that guy for a second. So here you will see a general description of your industry. Nice and long. Current conditions, industry leaders, lots of information. You'll also get further reading, and almost all of these are available in the database or online. So you can kind of go to this website here and gather that information for some further reading. I love that they list that on the bottom. And because this is a Gale database, you can save this, share it. You can even listen to it like you would an ebook, which I think is really cool. And you can access this written in many different languages. You can also, the hyperlink for the actual Encyclopedia of American Industries is linked here as well. So if you wanted to look at that ebook and browse different industries, you have that option too. And if you go back to our results here, you also have the option to find not just industry overview information, but things that mention full service restaurants in academic journals, magazines, market share reports, ranking, news, and trade journals. So if we click on academic journals, for example, we'll get things that mix full service restaurant kind of information. Keep in mind, sometimes information is a little bit older. Something from 2010 necessarily isn't relevant anymore, but you can also limit your search. You can publish within the last week, month, or year, different related subjects and publications as well. So it's a really good, easy to use kind of searchable database. We also, I want to show you, if you just click on industries, you can access every industry that's listed here, every market share report, and so on. And under companies, you can also search various publicly traded companies and access some SWOT reports. So SWOT reports are strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. They are kind of your classic, a classic business school tool that people are asked to create for your business plan or for your pre-business plan, identifying those strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats that would be facing your business. So here you can access some of these full text for certain publicly traded businesses. You can see they're listed alphabetically, and you can also keyword search. So for example, if you wanted to see Starbucks, they're listed in here. and you click on that option here, it will give you in full text the actual SWOT report. So here's our little chart here with our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And if you scroll down, you will actually get a description of why these items are classified as such. So here we have strength, the revenue growth in Americas, strength in network, cost efficiency, and you'll get some quick information about why those are considered those different items. So kind of a cool thing to look at. If you're opening a cafe, it's probably helpful to look at Starbucks, or if you're opening a different business, looking to the publicly traded businesses that have been successful can be a really useful tool in your market research as well. Any quick questions on Business Insights Global before we move on to OneSource?
No questions.
Cool. Okay, so our last general market research database is going to be OneSource, Dun & Bradstreet Business Browser Pro. This database gives me troubles sometimes. Let's see if it's gonna cooperate with me today. Gotta love live webinars, huh? Gonna give it one more chance to work for us, and then we're gonna have to move on. Of course, worked for me this morning before you guys were all here, but OneSource works in very much the same way as the other databases. It's searchable by NAICS code. There are those detailed market share reports where you can access PDFs for market line reports and Fredonia focus reports. It's best for those popular and classic industries like restaurants and fitness. So I apologize for that. If you do have questions later or you want to use it, I think it's the least useful market research database. But if you do have questions, we can certainly talk about scheduling a consultation with a librarian. We'll talk about that at the end of the presentation. Okay. Pop back into our presentation. I will say one more thing about OneSource. When you do enter it, this is our restaurants and bars. We just popped in that NAICS code, and it gives you the option to see the different resources that are available for that industry and what country it's coming from. I do recommend sorting by country, because we're only generally interested in the US unless you are doing international trade. That way you can sort to whichever country you'd like, and you'll be able to see, for example, market line industry profiles and Fredonia focus reports. These are 30 or so page documents with more in-depth information about the market, but not every industry has that information, just the large major industries. Do we have any general questions about market research before we move on to our next section, which is competitors? Give you a couple
questions so far, but we'll wait a few.
Give it a couple secs before we move on. Okay. Any questions about general market research?
No.
Okay. Part 4. This is where I think we'll get a little more questions. General market research is probably the easiest part of conducting your market research analysis because you are typing in an industry code and reading information. But now we're going to briefly cover researching other businesses or your competitors to better explore the market and its saturation. Keep in mind that a more thorough competitive analysis is a separate section of your business plan, and it's also the subject of a whole totally different class. So for the purposes of today for market research, we are going to be discussing competitors in terms of market saturation and your product or service's unique value within the market. When searching for competitors, you need to define the scope of your search. Geographically, you need to decide if your competitors are more local or spread out. Factors include things like if your industry is brick and mortar versus online, if your business depends heavily on foot traffic, like a pizza place or a shop, if you perform services remotely, like a consultant or a marketing professional, if you travel to clients like a personal trainer or a massage therapist, or if you have a more unique business idea where people are more willing to travel to you and to your business, like a top restaurant or a boutique fitness studio. How many people went to those fancy biking studios in Ardmore before they opened in Philly, right? So your target audience factors in when you consider who similar businesses are targeting. Consider a health food store that's targeting consumers with an interest in organic foods and who are between the ages of 25 and 44. You could be competing directly within that same target audience, or you can decide to corner a different market and target users who are, say, 45 to 64, who also have an interest in organic foods. Of course, your industry is also a large factor. Some industries are more competitive, like restaurants, where something like a boutique eyewear shop is less competitive because it's just less saturated. However, it's also important to consider how many people eat out versus how many people purchase boutique eyewear. Your target audience is also smaller. Finally, consider business size. Can your small cafe compete with Starbucks and other large cafes? Consider how it can compete based on location, products, and services. Can it compete based on these items? How can you defend yourself? Depending on your industry, you should have 5 to 10 major competitors in order to explore them with depth. You don't want to be exploring 50 to 100 competitors. It's just too much. Let's take a look at our example. An entrepreneur hopes to open a pet boutique welfare clinic in the Philadelphia metro region. They would begin by narrowing their search to the geographic area and then adding relevant industry codes. Then the entrepreneur would review whether the size of the business and target audience should be added to refine the search. For example, Petco might not be a competitor, but their more upscale brand, Petco Unleashed, may be. In this example, we know that this person wants to open a high-end pet clinic in or around Philadelphia. So we begin by searching for similar businesses by NAICS code in the city and the surrounding county. Conversely, based on our question, if you know of a competitor already, say in New York, LA, or anywhere in the US, you could search that company and see how they're classifying themselves. Then you would hone in on areas with, say, high incomes and people that have pets to narrow our search to just a couple of zip codes, going from the metro region to zip codes. Finally, we would consider a more in-depth target audience and, for example, exclude very large clinics with a lot of employees and clinics with low sales volumes, knowing that our upscale target customer is wanting personalized attention from a popular and kind of boutique-y type of clinic. The free library provides access to Reference USA, US businesses, to help begin your competitive analysis. Note that this database is meant to very much be a starting point. Reference USA generates lists of businesses based on your search criteria. Depending on your industry, your search results may be in the hundreds. You will need to continually work to refine your search and investigate beyond the search criteria by visiting your competitors' websites, reading reviews, visiting in person, cold calling, someone mentioned that as market research, and investigating other factors that might be relevant to you. To conduct a competitive analysis, we use Reference USA, US businesses. Reference USA is actually a collection of databases similar to Merchant Intellect. It's a powerhouse of information on consumer and business data. It's essentially a tool for building lists. And we'll talk about it another time again when we talk about target audience before the end of this class. Thankfully, once you've used one Reference USA database, you've used them all. They all function very similarly, and the features are the same for each database. For the purposes of conducting a competitive analysis, Reference USA has that main database, US businesses. The database suite contains a total of 58 million business listings for the whole country. And using the advanced feature, you can customize your search by industry, location, sales volume, size, and more. It can also help identify areas of economic development if you see a lot of businesses thriving and or opening in a specific location. This is a hyper-local tool that reveals details on cities and neighborhoods. Unlike our previous section on industry information, you're not just typing in a NAICS code and reading. This is a little bit more interactive. So using that advanced search feature, you can fully customize your search to find competitive businesses by location, sales volume, industry classification codes. And after you customize your search, you can view these results as a list, chart, or heat map. So you can continually refine to a larger or a smaller area. The default list results will actually generate a list of businesses and their locations. And clicking on a result will give you more detailed information on businesses like their sales volume, years they've been in business, their industry classification codes, and more. You can also create an account so that you can save your work. I highly recommend creating a free account so that you can download your results. Keep in mind that if you're downloading off-site, you can download 50 results. And if you are physically in a library location, which hopefully soon, you'll be able to download 150 searches. Keep in mind, you can do these in batches. It's not 50 for life. You would do it 50 by 50 by 50. And this database is updated weekly, so you're going to want to search it multiple times. So we're going to pop again into our presentation, or out of our presentation, on our databases page. This time we're going to use Reference USA, all the way at the bottom there. When you enter Reference USA from home, again, it will ask you for your library card number and PIN, and then it will ask you to accept their terms of service, and then you'll be in the database. You'll see here, this is a collection of databases. There are quite a few that can be very useful. Today, we're going to stick with US businesses. If you take our competitive analysis class, which will be most likely held in August, we will also talk about US new businesses, so we can see what kinds of businesses are opening as we move forward. But for today, we're just going to stick with US businesses. Keep in mind that once you've used one Reference USA database, you've definitely used them all. So they operate very similarly. When you enter Reference USA, it's going to default to this quick search page. I do not like it one little bit. Don't use it, even if you're searching for a specific company name. Unless it's a company like Comcast or another huge company, you're not going to get good results. We are going to always use this advanced search tab. This is how we will work to build a list, even if you're searching one company. So to answer the question first about how you would search for one company to see industry classification codes, NAICS codes, and SIC codes, you would just go ahead and select company name, search that company, and look at your results. If you are looking to build a list of potential competitors, here on our left-hand side, you'll see all the items that you can build your search by. Your most basic search is going to be by business type, so keyword SIC NAICS search, and by geography. So you'll notice this is a very customizable database, and this is meant to be just a quick demo of what it looks like. In our competitive analysis class, we get a little deeper, and we can definitely go deeper with individuals, but for today, we're just going to do a quick overview. In the center, when you select something here, you'll see that that item will then pop up with a couple of more features. One thing that persists always is record type. It defaults to verified businesses, and that's Reference USA's way of covering themselves. These are businesses that, to the best of Reference USA's knowledge, the information is up to date and accurate. If you select unverified businesses, it's going to pop our record count up here to about almost 60 million businesses. And these are businesses that Reference USA knows there's a business there. It's probably the correct industry, but they can't guarantee that the information is fully up to date. These could be very new businesses or businesses that don't have quite everything prepped. Maybe they aren't filing their taxes, or they don't have a commercial activity license completely set. So we're going to look just at verified businesses for now. And you can use these little buttons on the side, update count and view results, to see in real time how many results you're going to have, which is kind of cool. And then when you're ready, you can click view results, and that will bring us into our list page. So your most basic search, like I said, is going to be by keyword SIC NAICS, as well as location. You can search as broadly or as specifically as you would like. For geography here, you have the option to do the whole metro region, maybe a radius around an address, very customizable. You can even draw your own shape. For today, we're going to stick with Philadelphia. So you'll type in your location, or you can browse. So if we have Philadelphia, we'll select Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Once you've selected it and it's shaded blue, it'll show up under our selected, and we can start updating our count. So we have almost 65,000 verified businesses just in Philadelphia. And now comes the fun part, these industry classification codes. So Reference USA is a very smart database. It's a great keyword search. So it defaults here to that SIC, that older and more specific industry classification system. We can go ahead and type in something like yoga, and we're not going to be bound to that fitness and recreation NAICS code. We can actually use yoga and yoga instruction. Do keep in mind, not every business is using or being updated with these SIC codes, so it might be a little bit difficult. I recommend searching multiple times in this database. Search with your SIC codes, search with your NAICS codes, and see what kind of results you get. It's not a perfect search. You also have the option to search by all or to search by primary. So primary would be exactly what that sounds like, the code that exemplifies the primary product or service that the company is providing, whereas all would be any activity that that business is doing. I usually use the same example. Think of Target. If you were searching for electronic stores and you were searching all NAICS codes, you would get results like Target and Best Buy and the Apple Store, any kind of store that sells electronics, because they sell everything. Your primary code, if you typed in something like electronics, you would get a true electronic store, something like H.H. Gregg or Best Buy. You wouldn't get Target because they are not primarily considered an electronic store. Target probably has 20 NAICS codes because they sell groceries and clothing and electronics and food, everything. So think about if you want to have a primary search or that all search, and you can toggle back and forth. So here, if we wanted to find businesses that are primarily restaurants, we can start typing in 722 and we'll get all those kinds of food type of restaurants. If we wanted to keyword search instead of using the NAICS code, we could type in restaurant. Oops, I think I'm still on NAICS codes, or I'm still on SIC codes. So if we wanted to just type in something like restaurant, we would get all the results that are typical of a restaurant, full service restaurant, all of that. Or you can search by SIC code. It's totally up to you. You have the option to search both ways. So all that being said, let's go ahead and find restaurants. Oops. I'm going to pop in my NAICS code here. For some reason, it is only showing me SIC codes. That's okay. So updating our count, we have about 3,000 full service restaurants that are verified in Philadelphia. That's a ton. That's okay. We're going to start big. Other options that you can add in include things like business size, how many employees they have, what their sales volume would be, ownership. If you wanted to exclude publicly owned businesses and only show small restaurants, you could select privately. That takes us down a little bit. And you also have the option to search by sales volume, like I said. This is what they are reporting to the IRS only, so you can only go based on what they are reporting. Restaurants notoriously don't usually report all of their sales volume. Keep that in mind. It definitely depends on the industry. So let's go ahead and view our results. So here is our list making page. We see every kind of restaurant listed here. One thing we can do specifically, if you want to look at one specific location, let's look at 105 Cafe Inc. You will get their general location information. Here's their industry profile. So this is exactly what you can use to find similar businesses. Their SIC code corresponds to full service restaurants. We could always go back using these buttons, not the browser buttons. Go back and revise our search as we go if we found that we are using the wrong code or we want to switch codes or maybe switch to an SIC code instead of a NAICS code. You'll get some business demographics Almost every restaurant in Philadelphia lists as 225 because restaurants, like I said, are notorious. You have how many employees they have, how long they've been around, credit rating, square footage information. If you're lucky, you'll get some hours of operation and managers or owners. Company data and stock is only for publicly traded businesses. You'll get some estimates on what the business is spending on different business expenditures like accounting and contract labor. Some business history charts, information on how much money they've been making, what their employee size is. Some business history. So this business is a recent open, so you can see that they didn't have any data in 2017. And one of the coolest parts of this database is their competitors report. So this is compiled by Reference USA based on industry, size, location, and sales volume. So you can see, because this is a restaurant, their competitors are pretty much all on top of each other there. I think that's Old City. And it is, I believe we clicked on, this might be an Asian themed restaurant, because we see that a lot of the businesses, a couple of the businesses are Asian as well. So based on that industry and location and size, these are their top competitors. If we were looking at a more or less competitive business like an eyewear store, you would see that these maybe are a little more spread out because it's less competitive in the area. Tons of restaurants in Old City. So that is one specific record. If we go back and we select all of our records, you have the option to save your search and download your results. When you save your search, it will ask you to create a username and password. When you download your search, it will ask you what kind of information you'd like to save. So you can download everything a little bit, or you can customize the information you'd like to save. If you want sales volume and you want, I don't know, something like the neighborhood, you can add that in and download your search to Excel or email it to yourself. You also have the great heat map option. I love this tool because you can see where businesses are located most commonly. This is a great way to start your competitive analysis if you're not sure where you want to open your business. If you scroll down here, it will give you top results by zip code. So 19107 has the most restaurants, followed by 19147, and so on. And you can use these buttons here to toggle and see exactly where these hotspots are. And when you get closer and closer, you can see the block. And when you get close enough, let's see, it will actually give you points. So you can see there's Capital Grill, for example, with a cool $5 million in sales, Hip City Veg, and you can kind of expand and go from there. You can also change the heat map to reflect, the default is location, but you can change that to reflect sales volume and number of employees. And you can also download or print this heat map from any view as well. You can also generate different charts and summaries based on these search results too. And I recommend, always going back, always refining. You can always change your keyword SIC makes options. You can also change your geography to reflect if you want to look more closely at a couple of different zip codes instead of the whole city. It's very easy to go back and keep changing and saving your searches. Do we have any quick questions about Reference USA?
No questions so far.
Cool. So that is a brief introduction to Reference USA and competitive analysis. Do we have any quick questions about competitors or researching other businesses in general?
None yet.
Okay, I'll give it another second before we move on to our next section. I'm always that person who thinks of a question 3 minutes after we moved on. Okay, if we have no final questions, we'll move on to our last section.
A question just came in.
Cool, what is it? What do we got?
It says, how to find out how much a business makes yearly after expenses?
So that's not public information, unfortunately. I wish it was. The only thing we really have is our sales volume information that is being reported to the IRS. That would be something you'd have to Ask the Business Owner, which they probably wouldn't give you. There's another database that we're not looking at today, which is called Merchant Intellect First Research. I'm sorry, not First Research, Merchant Intellect Advanced Search, that might have some more details on financials, but it really isn't good for very small businesses. It's most useful when we're talking about medium and large size companies. Does that answer your question? I hope so. It's not a good answer because there's not no way to really find that out. Any other questions?
Oh, he just asked could I write the database. I can type it into the chat box.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Sharon Tina. And we'll talk a little bit more. You can always email bric@freelibrary.org. We'll give you that email address again at the end, where you can email a specific question. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next part, our consumer and demographic research information. This final section is all about finding your target audience using consumer and demographic research. Again, like your competitive analysis, keep in mind that a more thorough explanation and exploration of your target audience is a separate section in your business plan and yet another BRIC class. For the purposes of market research, the discussion of your target audience is based on market saturation and your product or service's unique value to a specific group or groups of people. By definition, demographics are the characteristics of a population. This information is used to conduct research into where opportunities exist within your target and within your market in developing appropriate business and marketing strategies to target your customers. Part of your market research consists of identifying your customer segments. Once you've identified a customer, for example, baby boomers, you will then parse them into individual characteristics, such as something like homecomers or parents. I'm sorry, homeowners or parents. Finally, you will search to find areas like zip codes that have the highest concentration of this kind of person, and there you will find your target audience. You can use this information to build on your market research to decide how you will reach and market to potential customers. For example, think about ads you see on social media. Does your target audience use specific media, like millennials tend to use Instagram, baby boomers are the fastest growing population on Facebook, and Gen Z is now using TikTok. Let's take a look at our example of how an interior design company might break down one of their target audiences. An interior design company could choose to market to homeowners between the ages of 35 and 65 with over $150,000 in Philadelphia. The market is broken into two niches, including parents on the go and retiring baby boomers. Here we have a group of people who can afford high-end interior design, the most important aspect of marketing, and they're also most likely too busy to decorate for themselves. The free library provides access to 3 major demographic databases. 2 of them are part of Reference USA, which is US consumers and lifestyles, as well as new movers and homeowners. And we also have a database called Simply Analytics, which can go into more detail about the demographics of an area. To begin, we revisit Reference USA once again. For the purposes of demographic research, Reference USA has those 2 main databases, consumers and lifestyles, as well as new movers and homeowners. Today, we're going to essentially stick with consumers and lifestyles. That's what we'll demo. It includes over 314 million consumers and over 400,000 recent movers and homeowners. It's a hyperlocal tool that reveals details on cities and neighborhoods. Again, using the advanced search feature as always, you can fully customize your search to find ideal customers by location, big or small, income, home value, interests, and more. After you customize your search, you can view the results as you would in Reference USA US businesses as a list, a chart, or heat map, and you can continually refine to a larger or smaller area to tighten your target. The list results will actually generate a list of names and addresses. Clicking on a result will give you more detailed information on a person, like their income range, home value, years in home, and lifestyle interests. Remember to create an account so you can save your work and download your results. Simply Analytics provides what I like to call hardcore demographics. It's a very advanced web-based mapping analytics and data visualization tool. There are more than 75,000 data variables related to demographics, employment, housing, market segments, businesses, consumer spending, brand preferences, and public health. This database is usually only available to use physically in the BRIC at the free library, but our friends at Simply Analytics provided remote access for as long as the library is physically closed. Use it at home while you can. I recommend that you already know a little bit about your target audience before you dive into Simply Analytics. Get to know where people with certain incomes are already living using Reference USA to narrow our search by zip code, especially since in Simply Analytics, you can only view one variable at a time. For example, a useful search would be to find people who are interested in wearable technologies such as fitness trackers, as well as people who are interested in organic foods, or people who commute over an hour to work daily. These are examples of the kinds of data variables you can find in Simply Analytics. You can explore data by topic or by keyword, or a combination of both. Additionally, you can view your data on a map, a comparison chart, a ranking chart, or produce a demographic and housing overview. And each view can be downloaded to Excel or as a PDF. I also recommend using Simply Analytics in tandem with Reference USA you can generate sales leads, for example. Simply Analytics will not produce names or locations in the results, but it will tell you the number or percentage of people who live in a certain census tract or zip code. Simply Analytics can take some getting used to because it is an overwhelming amount of information. We're just touching on its capabilities today, just a little preview, but Sharon Tina included a link to the Simply Analytics user guide in the chat box. Pop into our databases again. So we're going to start back in Reference USA. Go back to that main page there. And we're going to look specifically at US consumers and lifestyles. There's also US new movers and homeowners. The difference there is we are going to be finding information about people who have moved within the last 2 weeks to the last, or I'm sorry, the last week to the last 2 years. So this information is really useful if you're looking for people who have recently moved into an area to see which neighborhoods, for example, have a certain kind of person moving to them, if they're buying homes or if they're renting. Something like if you're a roofer, an electrician, or you just want to know a cool new hip neighborhood with a lot of people moving to it, that's a great database to use. It's very similar to here are US consumers and lifestyles. Again, we're going to use that advanced search. And it should look really familiar. So here, there's a lot less information to customize by because there's a lot less publicly available information about people like us, which is good. We don't want all of our information out there, right? So here, one thing to note in the center, it will always default to this contacts per household and all per household. This is your demographic view. This will give you people who cohabitate together, husbands, wives, partners will all be listed individually. Whereas if you switch it to one per household, that's giving you more of the person who files head of household. It eliminates a lot of women, for example. One thing this database is not good at is it's not good at delineating between landlords and people who live in the home, especially in Philly. We have a lot of renters here. You might see results for the same house, one as the owner and one as the resident. Not perfect. So for demographic purposes, we're going to keep it on that all per household. And now at our most basic search, we can use that geography again, similar to US businesses. I'm going to go ahead and search Philadelphia. So, whoops, we don't want Philadelphia, Tennessee. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. We can update our count, and we have about 1.5 million results. That's pretty accurate. And now we can choose some other options. So, for example, you can search by home value and home income. I tend to search by home income because I find it to be a truer value, especially in a city where a lot of people rent. Their home value may be way above or below what they could actually afford. So here for income, you have the option, you can select one specific range, or you can select multiple ranges. Here, if we're thinking about our example, we're looking for people who make over $150,000 a year in Philly. We can select 150,000 through over 500,000. And if we update our count, we go from 1.5 million to about 90,000 people. And we can view our results right here. We can get a nice heat map view or list of these people. Additionally, we can add in some more information. We can add in what Reference USA calls lifestyles. And these are basically levels of interest. So if someone is getting a lot of mail, for example, around home improvement, we can expand all of this, maybe home decorating and furnishing. If we are an interior decorator, we definitely don't want do-it-yourselfers. We specifically want home decorating and furnishing. And there are all different subjects and topics we can expand by. If you're scored on a 0 to 9 scale. If you're scoring a 6 or higher, you are tagged as having a lifestyle interest. I will say it's not also perfect. This is mostly based on what people are getting in the mail. So magazines, newsletters, if you're getting a lot of ads for certain things, this is one of the reasons why. So here we can kind of take it at face value. People who are getting mail tend to be a little bit older, I would say. In Reference USA, they're over 50 almost often, not exclusively, but often. But for our purposes today, let's say we're targeting those boomers who are making over $150,000, who are interested in home decorating. If we update our count, we're down to 16,000 and change. I'm going to go back and show you consumer snapshot in our next round of searching. So here, if we view our results, you see we are getting literally a list of people, names, addresses, and phone number. The phone number are landlines, they're not cell phones. So here, I hope we don't have Mr. McCrossin in class today. I feel like I show this guy all the time. You get, if you click on one specific record, some general resident information. Mr. McCrossin is a single man who's been in his home for about 10 years. Here's his estimated household income and value. And if he has any lifestyle interests, they will be shown here. So this could be a really good potential client for us. So now if we go back, that's one specific record. We're not going to look through over 16,000 results. We just kind of want to get the idea of where these people are most likely to live. So again, if we select all of our results, we have those options to save and download our results. In this Reference USA, as well as in US businesses, when you do start downloading, that gives you a nice way to start your list. You have a nice spreadsheet. I don't know about you guys, but I'm a huge spreadsheet person. I love to kind of take notes and start honing in from there. So that can be really helpful when you save your search and download your results. I love the power of the whole in this database. We can go and we can look at our heat map and see where this type of person most likely lives. So here we can see our results by zip code. 19147 has the highest rate of this person in Philadelphia who makes over $150,000 with interest in home decor. And we can again use the map to hone in, see exactly where we can target. Makes a little bit of sense to me. We got, some heat here in U City, down in Girard Estates where it's starting to get really nice. Fairmount, our Chestnut Hill kind of area. Even in the Northeast, we see some heat up around Bustleton and Fox Chase. So it can be really cool to see that. You can also change this map to reflect if you want to see, okay, they're highly concentrated in a certain area, but where are the super high rollers? We can sort this by home income as well. So here we see our map has changed a little bit. You can see where, some of this heat has changed. Where are the people with the highest of the high incomes living? No surprise there. But we can definitely see there's some good heat up here in Chestnut Hill. And you can save your search result, print it, or download it here. If we go back to our results and revise our search, we always have the option to then check out a zip code very specifically and get a smaller list of people. We also have the option here to look at consumer snapshot. Now, consumer snapshot is going to really change our data. You're not going to get names and phone numbers anymore, but you can break down, for example, age or a different kind of item. You can add gender if you wanted as well. If you wanted to add, we're targeting those 45 to 65, and maybe we want generally females. If we update our count, we're down to 5,000 results. And now when we view our results, you'll notice we're not getting names and phone numbers, but we do have the option to create a chart. So here, I recommend starting with breaking it down by 5-digit zip code under geography. When you show your summary, here we have every single person in Philadelphia, or every single zip code in Philadelphia, and those 5,000 people where there are peaks and valleys based on that specific ask, that age and gender information. So we have 19115, 19128, 19147. These are our top results for these people and where they're most likely to live. This will help us next in Simply Analytics to go ahead and put those zip codes into Simply Analytics to get more demographic information. And from our main search, if we take out that consumer snapshot that hides our individuals, we also have the option to generate some of those, take out those consumer snapshots. We also have the option to create some of those summaries and charts. Again, you won't get names and addresses, it will hide them, but you can get more information about age and gender, stuff like that. Do we have any quick questions on Reference USA before we look at Simply Analytics? I know we're getting close here to our 11:30 threshold.
So we had a few questions, but I did answer them in the chat.
Okay, cool. For sake of time, we're gonna move to Simply Analytics. So moving down to Simply Analytics here. I do think it's the best to create an account in Simply Analytics. It's totally free. You can sign in as a guest if you just want to check it out, but you won't be able to save your work or save anything that you favorite. So I'm going to sign in with my account here. And when you enter Simply Analytics, you have the option to either create a new project, open one you've already completed, or work on or manage a project. So if we start a new project, what you would do is you'd enter in a zip code. Say we're interested in 19147. We saw that zip code show up quite a few times. It will then ask you if you want to add in what they call seed variables so that they can auto-generate information for you. You can use all of these or none of these. For example, I might not care about education and housing, but I definitely am interested in median income and maybe the population of people who are over 65. We create our project. It's going to default here to that zip code. You can add in as many locations as you'd like. Our seed variables will always persist up top here. And then how we're looking at our information. We put in a zip code, so it's going to automatically sort by census tract. But if you were to put in Philadelphia, it would auto sort to zip code. And you can change and switch back and forth. So here, you have the option to add in additional locations. You can even customize and draw your own area. Businesses, this is kind of a neat feature. It allows you to enter in businesses by NAICS code SIC or by actual business name. And you can overlay that information based on NAICS code or SIC code. Say we want to find restaurants. We can search and it will give us some little yellow dots. These are all of our restaurants. There's a ton in 19147, of course. But you can see exactly what's going on, especially if you want to add your own industry there. You don't have to include that. It's totally up to you. I'm going to go ahead and delete that. And then, of course, what we're all here for, that data. So you can keyword search. I mentioned you can search by health. If you wanted to search in something like heart disease specifically, you can do a keyword search and it will pull up anything that mentions heart disease. And you can kind of sort on the side here. Say you're really interested not in consumer behavior, but in health or health and beauty or ailments. You can select that and it will refine your search. You also have the option to just browse by category. Maybe you're interested in health in general. You can see all of our segments. There's almost 4,000 results just for health. And you can go through and hone in a little bit further. Say you're interested mostly in lifestyle. Now we're down at 252 results. On the side, if you want to select an option, it will almost always give you information on number as well as percent. And if you click on those 3 dots in the side, it gives you the option to add this to your favorites. Highly recommend it because it's hard sometimes to find a certain source again. And you can view the metadata where you can go through and take a look at where this information is coming from and how old it is, which can be really important. You can see if you create your own account, you can see your last search and you can see what items you have favorited. So if I want to see people who eat, the percentage of people who are eating organic food, I've added that to my map. Here's our zip code. This is a percentage, so the darker the red, the more likely. And you can zoom in as far or as far out or as close as you'd like. So here in this particular area between like Fitzwater and 3rd Street, we can see almost 50% of people are eating organic food. That's a huge plus. And we can then pop that back into Reference USA. We can draw that shape and we can get names and phone numbers and addresses. And that's a really tight target audience. So we can really overlay organic health stores or restaurants or yoga studios on top of this area and see exactly where our competitors are and the kind of person. It's a really great way to build a target audience. And you can also create those comparison charts, ranking charts, and add as many pieces of data as you want. When you switch views, you will lose that information you added other than your seed variables. So we can go ahead and add that organic information back in and we can compare standards. We can add in additional zip codes, locations. You can add in Philadelphia in general as a comparison. And you can also create a ranking chart based on the entire city or the zip code, adding in our other information. You can even click and sort this largest to smallest if we wanted to compare census tracts in 19147, or we could decide to do it by zip code. If we had Philadelphia here, we could do zip codes in all Philadelphia. Kind of cool to look at the entire country. Apparently in the village of Nagogwood, Massachusetts, 100% of people are said to be eating organic food. That's a high income as well. So really a cool database where you can just get a lot of demographic information. Any quick questions on Simply Analytics or on demographics in general?
No questions so far.
Okay, cool. Pop back into our screen here. Okay, I'll give it another couple seconds. We're towards the end here. We're just going to review a little bit and we'll talk about our other services like requesting an appointment with a librarian. Should just be about a couple more minutes. I'm sorry, I'm running a little late. Any questions coming in about demographics?
No.
Cool. All right. So just quickly, let's review some of the concepts. I know we covered a ton of resources over the last hour and a half. So let's review the major databases that we covered. We talked about finding information about our industry, trends, and forecasts using NAICS codes in Mergent Intellect and in First Research, Business Insights Global, and we attempted to use OneSource. I'll let our IT and databases department know that that wasn't working today. Next, we covered researching businesses using Reference USA, US businesses, to find information on businesses within our industry to determine how we can compete or remain competitive. Finally, we learned how to target our audience using Reference USA, US consumers and lifestyles, and Simply Analytics to research demographic data. And together, these concepts make up a comprehensive market research report and business plan section. It's okay if you're feeling overwhelmed after class today. The business librarians, mostly Sharontina and myself, we do offer guided research appointments with businesses that are currently operating. Before the free library closed due to COVID-19, we offered in-person appointments with a business librarian that lasted up to an hour. But while the free library is physically closed, we're offering 40-minute appointments via Zoom. They are offered Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. and appointments are limited and fill up quickly. We can cover 2 of the topics listed on the screen here during each appointment. and we hope to expand these virtual appointments soon. We plan to offer in-person appointments again when it's safe to do so, but I do think virtual appointments are here to stay, at least as an option. The appointment request form is available at freelibrary.org/business. When you click the link to complete the request form, you will see that it's currently not accepting responses, but you will see a link to a new form. The direct link to the virtual appointment request is listed on this slide, that bit.ly/virtual-BRIC one-on-one. Sharon Tina also shared that direct link in the chat. If you're not currently operating or you're looking to take a deeper dive into business research, we ask that you watch a webinar of our Introduction to Business Plans class called Business Plan Toolkit. That's all on YouTube, and once you've watched the class or after you've attended this orientation, you can then request an appointment. Sharon Tina shared a link to the Business Plan Toolkit in the chat. You'll see the link here on the screen. Often people watch that class and kind of got what they needed, especially since you can pause it and you can see the database is being demonstrated. But if you do need or want further one-on-one assistance, you can request one of those appointments at that link that Sharon Tina shared, and that's on the screen as well. We also offer different programs and classes each month. We began offering Zoom programs in April, and please bear with us as we navigate the virtual world, but we are excited to begin offering these classes. In July, we don't usually do a ton of programming. We're going to do a competitive analysis class next in July, but you'll see some of the classes that librarians teach, including those intro classes and the series. But we also invite experts to teach programs on things like marketing, finance, and legal. We're going to be offering on June 17th coming up a class on PPP loan forgiveness and the new legislator that was recently passed. You can find more information on our upcoming events on our online calendar. Sharon Tina shared that link in the chat as well. Check out what we have coming up. We're excited. In addition to that PPP class on the 17th, we have our last Lunch and Learn of the year, which is going to be all about pitching yourself. It's going to be super fun and interactive. Get ready to talk, get ready to use the breakout rooms. We're going to really get fancy with that program. Should be fun. That's on June 18th. Finishing up just a couple minutes late, I'm sorry, but thank you for attending this class today. It was really fun to present. I know we covered a lot of information, but you will be sent a recording of this class and all the links we shared in the chat. Remember, this class is meant to be an overview and a tour of the resources that you can access for free with your Free Library Philadelphia library card. So take some time, explore a little bit further. Email us at bric@freelibrary.org if you have additional questions. And stay in touch. We offer, we have our website, freelibrary.org/business and /BRIC. You can email us, and you can also find us on Twitter. And you can always get the most up-to-date information by subscribing to our monthly newsletter. Sharon Tina shared those links in the chat, including the presentation here. And I'll take a couple of questions, but until then, if you don't have any questions, thank you for coming, and I hope to see you soon. Any questions, Sharon Tina?
Nope, everyone's just saying thank you. It was very informative and helpful.
Great. Thank you, everyone. I'll stay on another couple of minutes here and I'll look at the chat, but otherwise, thank you. All right, over and out, everyone. Thank you again. Bye.